Cool. Okay, so you really want to know, huh? Fine. I'm gonna start by telling you this. And this is important, so listen up. Your entire life, this one and many others, you've been a god who uses its absolute power to make yourself powerless. Entire cultures, especially this one, have all been afraid of their weaknesses, supposedly. When in reality, they've all been afraid of their power. This goes beyond the matrix of reality. This is something much deeper than that. This is eternal. This is fully realizing your consciousness. This is infinite. This is evolution. This is our divine right.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm super excited. I have an awesome guest today. And just right before we run and get into it, I just want to give a couple shout outs. One to my good friends at Content Safe. If you're watching this on an alternative platform, I didn't upload it. They did for me, and I'm so grateful for them. If you're watching this on YouTube, never mind the amount of views this got, because we've been enduring the shadow ban here for a while, but we don't mind. That's what truth is all about. We want to share honestly, and it's exciting, honestly. That's why these guys help people out. Really appreciate all their work. If you have friends who need some help in this department, go and check them out. contentsafe.co. I'm going to be at the Contact at the Cabin. It's the one that's Magic at the Mountain, Contact at the Cabin, in Arizona with Brandon Powell and Joe Roop and the Grimerica guys the next year. I'm so stoked, cannot wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. Check that out. I think it is, it's getting pretty close. They're selling a lot of tickets, so check it out. Go ahead and get signed up for that. Now, before we get started, I'm really excited to have someone who is really passionate and has been putting a lot of work into all kinds of different areas, but we're going to specifically talk a little bit about his movie and his website, actualactivist.com. I have Matthew Landman, made the documentary Frankenskies. It's awesome. I love the way that it's presented. It's a great film. Be sure to go check it out. I'll put all links in the show notes. Matt, thank you so much for being on the show, and welcome.
Thank you, Bootsy. Thank you for having me. I really appreciated I hadn't heard that musical intro, so that was so sweet. It really got me vibing or whatever. Sometimes things you can like feel this like, it's hard to explain energy to everyone, but it's like a tingle kind of thing, like electric, like energy. It felt good. It was amazing. Way to be. And thank you.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that. A good friend of mine made that, and I heard it and I was like, dude, can I please use this for my podcast? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And his link is, folks, in the show notes as well. Go check out Oscar. He's done all kinds of music in the past, and he was like, oh, here, I'll send you a couple things that I've done. And when I heard that I was like, dude, I really want to use that as intro music. And so yeah, I'm real excited and happy to be able to feature that. So thank you. I'm glad it resonates, man.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's kind of like what we're dealing with right now. Is we're in a collective consciousness, and it's a co-creative collective consciousness, and to steer it all and control it through manipulation and fear, then you're in control, right? And you can steer us, the creators, you know what I mean? It's pretty deep, but yeah, I could go on and on, so I won't.
No, I am right there with you. I think that's really it, and that's a big reason why I started sharing it all, is because I knew, hey, like we have power, and especially collectively, like we have a lot of power. And when we go on autopilot and just accept whatever narrative, so-and-so, it doesn't matter, put whatever letters here or there, and then just accept that instead of really, checking in ourselves, checking in with other people, seeing what other research and work other people are putting out there. But I mean, mostly just, like feeling in ourselves, then, we can easily kind of just get off on the wrong path. So I really appreciate your work and all you've done. to bring this information to people. And I can tell, you have a huge heart. I think most activists do, for the most part. I don't know. Apparently there's a new show called The Activist that's coming out. And it's all about these activists and their Instagram followings. So, so it's one of those things that I think, like so many things, they start out and they kind of have this powerful organic momentum, and then ultimately kind of get taken over, by a group or steered in a direction to become that sort of collective, sort of narrative in a way.
Yeah, some of those are bought the whole time or whatever, but some people have hearts and they never sell out. You're not going to see me selling out because I've kept my head and heart and soul in the game, and now I'm actually killing it with my EMF clothing. I'm leading the industry globally. So back, like I said, I could talk forever about the intro, but back to the power of us as co-creative manifestors and whatnot, and the real power that we have. I was asking the world about, because I'm on Facebook, I got about 60,000 followers, and I like to drop different questions and get conversations going and, make it more of a community, not me just dropping stuff out there. So I asked people about their favorite predictive programming brainwashing movie, and people are talking about all the different movies out there, Snowpiercer and Children of Men, Handmaid's Tale. There's so many. And someone hit me up talking about Terminator 2, and they sent these photos to me in Terminator 2 of these screenshots in the movie. Of course, we've seen it. Me and you are from the same generation. I can almost guarantee you might have even seen it in the theater. And subliminally, there's 9/11 stuff in there, just like a few clips, like watch, like it's like it's just little flashes. And so I started analyzing just that the other day. It's like, why would they want just to get the collective consciousness, like it's just sneaky little things, but all together we're so powerful that we co-create, and there's consent, and there's all these weird things, but we are the creators. And as long as they can steer us in our collective subconsciouses together, which are very, very powerful, but we don't even know it, because we don't even realize we're dreaming. We wake up in the morning and we're like, okay, this is not the dream. Right. But we're dreaming this reality, and we're all collectively projecting it upon ourselves and stuff. If you understand the power of programming, why they would put that subtle suggestion in there, it's because we co-create and confirm and do all these sort of things. And there's consent, and we are in charge, even though it seems like we're getting played and we're the slaves and whatnot. So it's so deep. But when you look at predictive programming, it starts to unravel. Like, well, why would they even do that? They care what we think? I thought they were, they got the weapons, right? It's the other way around.
Yeah. And I know my audience will totally resonate with that. It's one, I kind of see our sort of spiritual development, and I should probably make a video about this, but where it's kind of in 3 segments. It's like, for me, I can say it's like I went through and I just kind of saw the world the way I was told to, college, whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to have as much fun as I can. And I saw the world through that lens. And then ultimately, the day came where my reality completely got crushed, and my paradigm of how I viewed the world no longer. I was like, wow, I thought this, that's not true. I thought this, that's not true. All these things, right? The veil was sort of lifted, let's say. And then I was actually at first really depressed. So I had to start actively, starting to build my own, thoughts and focus on what I was thinking, what I was allowing into my brain. That's sort of the second sort of part, is building consciously a reality. And then I feel like I'm getting to this maybe third part now, which is just opening up more space and really trying to be more intuitive and closer to the universe in a way. And I see it very much that way. So I know the folks who are listening or watching this episode, they know the power of programming, because we have had to, if you're on this journey, then you've had to question things. You've had to, be the observer of your thoughts, the person who is the active creator of reality. If only more people knew it, I think we'd have a lot more leverage. But, hopefully more and more people are, with this kind of work that you're doing. Hopefully they very much are. Is it, Now, let's talk a little bit about maybe your process of discovering some of this stuff, because I'm curious, because for me, it was like a battering ram just smashing me in the side of the face. I don't know that it's everyone has to go through that. I hope they don't, but you know, the dark night of the soul or what have you. But I'd love to know, just like, how did you come from where you were until where you are now, until a place where you decided to become an activist?
Okay, firstly, brother, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say waking up is a swift kick to the face.
Okay.
And that's what I actually do say in my presentations, and it pisses you off and it upsets you. And I mean, all these levels of emotion. So how did I get to the activism? Okay, so we're going to hold that thought for just a second. I love the idea of the 3-part spiritual awakening series or video. That's so great. You should probably definitely, I hope that you do it. I'm also, I feel like, in that third phase now, or there's probably even more phases, but we were consciously aware of where we're at, what we're doing. And it's this Bruce Lee quote of plateaus and frequency, and like you leave people behind to go to this other plateaus where there's people of different elevated frequencies are waiting for you and stuff like that. Just the other day, and I never had this thought before, and I won't digress too hard. The full moon came up right as the sun set, and I'm out there watching it, and I go, you mother, right? I'm like, wait a second. How come the full moon is always rising right at sunset? So I know I've done research on this. I question the moon. I question so much. I question all these official narratives because they're all full of it, right? They're all Masonic numbers and it's all in your face lies. It's such deceitful nonsense. And if we live a lie and we live falsehoods, then we're not empowered in truth. If we're empowered in truth, we can totally co-create and manifest anything. We're gods. We're creator gods. So the moon, it's 15 minutes, 45 minutes later every single day, okay? It doesn't come up the same time every day. It comes up later every day and it goes through its whole waxing and waning. And, you know, sometimes it rises on the horizon in the day and it's a crescent or whatever. But I swear, more often than not, these equinoxes and these big whatevers, the sun sets, and right as the sun sets, it's the full moon. It's not coincidence, bro. There's something deeper there. It's bigger. It has something to do with the interaction with us. And then it's taking over the night sky, and I have weird dreams or whatever it is. It impacts me. And then they come and they chemtrail the crap out of it sometimes, and I have nightmares, and they want to disrupt the rhythm. It's very fascinating, and it's so important to have an open mind because I swear we're breaking out of it. This is an age of Aquarius or whatever, and what they're trying to make it is an age of lies and falsehoods and deceit. But it's really an age of truth because we live in polarity and duality, good, evil, up, down, left, right. They want to polarize falsehoods on falsehoods, but we're snapping out of it, man, and we're here to like shine the light and bring the dawn. It's so amazing. As activists, we've been at it for a minute, planting these seeds all over the place. There's so many seeds we've been planting. And a lot of them have, you know, sprouted and it's been easy on some people, maybe a big kick or steamroller to the face at first or whatever. But some of those seeds are still out there, right? And this soil is now incredibly fertile. It's so fertile, it's more fertile than ever because of all the lies, right, and what we're living in right now. So my path, dude, someone handed me a video, man. Someone handed me Loose Change, the 9/11 movie. And I had grown up in Northern Virginia. I went to Virginia Tech, but I was back home during that semester going to a school in DC area, George Mason. It's right outside of Washington, DC. And I lived right next to Dulles Airport where the planes took off. My girlfriend was going to Pace University right next to the Trade Center. Like I was all up in it, calling her. All the lines were jacked. I couldn't get through to her all day in New York. Like I was in it. I was there. And I like that. It's hard on the kids nowadays. You're 20 years old. You're like, I got no reference point, yo. Like I'm 20. You know, on the internet, you look it up, and it's like crazy conspiracy theorists, yada yada, and you can't take a side or anything. You weren't there, and I get it. But the truth is really self-evident if you just look at it. You know, there's a lot of holes, and just the Pentagon alone, the planes didn't hit the building, whatever. I mean, the engines didn't exist. There's two-ton titanium and steel Rolls-Royce engines that were supposed to smash into the Pentagon, and where they would have lined up is the windows didn't even break, you guys. Like there's nothing that actually happened. It's really obvious. So either way, that was like my little foot in the door. My seed was starting to sprout. But it took forever for me to be like, I worked 40 jobs straight up. I went to school again in California, California State University of Humboldt in Northern California, got out with a master's in business, an MBA, graduated top of my class, and then worked in another office, bro, like finance. I was a finance analyst. It was, another hellish nightmare. And I was like, this is what I worked all my ass off to do. And someone was like, you want to work on this organic farm? And it was actually like a real farm, not a pot farm, because that area is surrounded by them and it's all good. But it was like potatoes and squash and all sorts of stuff. When you're growing organic food, you usually don't just monocrop because that's dumb.
Right.
So I learned about varieties of food, and I learned so much. My first day on the farm, bro, I learned that potatoes grow potatoes. And I know you're a comedian, and I know this might be funny to somebody. I swear, if you can make it into a joke, dude, people don't know potatoes grow potatoes. I grew up, I thought I knew everything. And when potatoes were getting all weird, I didn't know just go throw them in the ground and they're going to grow a potato plant. And you dig in the ground, there'll just be a hell of potatoes. That's really important, like knowledge, Like knowledge is power. Like if you go in the hood and you tell them, hey, did you know there's different varieties of lemons? They'd be like, what? There's lemons is lemons is lemons is lemons. You know what I mean? I had to get really educated to learn about all these different varieties of things. And I looked up, I just Googled these things, you know what I'm saying? And there's so many varieties of apples that are out there in the world for sale, like thousands and thousands of them. I thought there were like 4 or 5. I never knew. So I got grounded working on a farm. And then by being grounded and learning there's all these varieties, we grew 12 varieties of potatoes, homie. I didn't think there was more than 2. You know, and I worked at restaurants and I thought I knew everything. And I graduated top of my class with some stupid BS degree that I will never pay the loans back for, this indoctrination camp. But either way, so I literally, this is important because it's the power of the seed. I was talking to my homie back home. Well, firstly, it loops back to the power of the seed because he just dropped the word chemtrails on me. I witnessed weather engineering firsthand. So we're in the midst of like a 4-year catastrophic California drought. And where I happened to live in rural Northern California, where it's very farmland and very sparse air traffic. Where I lived is where the atmospheric river jet stream comes across the United States traditionally. The moisture pattern for the whole year just comes dumping. And then you get like 4 months of rain. It's very obvious. And it basically goes from San Francisco up into Canada to Seattle. And traditionally, it's just like this wet season. So we hadn't gotten that wet season for about 4 years. And if I had known about research, I would have known that they had created a high pressure bubble with HARP and chemtrails, and the jet stream was hitting it and getting bent around our area. It's kind of simple, actually, if you learn about that, which I can explain if there's questions. But either way, I didn't know anything about any of that. And then if someone said the weather is engineered, I'd laugh at them because I was one of those people. And if someone said crystals were cool, I'd laugh at them and clown them. And if anybody said, what's your horoscope, I would laugh at them and clown them. Mm-hmm. And like for real, I was one of those dudes. I smoked Newport Lights and drank Schlitz and sometimes OE, Okay, but I'm a really, really healthy, amazing person now. I mean, not to say if you drink 40s, you're bad, but really there's a frequency and fluoride and all these sort of things. So I'm on the farm one day, and my farmer, Paul, comes out, my boss, and he's like, we're getting this huge storm, Doppler radar, 1 week of 100% rain. You got to go home, get rain boots, and come out here, and we got to harvest these pumpkins. They're going to get rotted in the field, because it was too early. It was early in the season. We weren't expecting it. So I get it all, suited up, and I go out there, and it's huge. You can see the black storm clouds coming off the ocean. I can hear the waves while I work. It's a beautiful place to work. I'm like within hearing distance of the ocean on this organic farm, growing potatoes and corn mazes and all this stuff. Amazing life at the time. I got huge too. I never even thought I could get that big. If you work every single day and until you're hurt and then you work more because it's your job, you'll get huge. I don't care what your billet is. It's great. You don't even have to eat crazy protein, but your body craves it, so you do. And then it's just whoop. But either way, just saying, because some people are like, oh, how do I do that? It doesn't even matter how old you are. You can do it. Anybody can become anything, anytime. It's amazing. Like any job, you can totally create any world for yourself if you want. So This storm comes rolling in off the ocean, and I'm working my ass off, and all of a sudden all these planes show up, like 20, and they're zigzagging the sky and on the edge of the storm system, and they're leaving these persistent linear cirrus clouds out of the back of the planes, these lines. I had no reference point. I'm like, oh wow, they're zigzagging the sky, leaving this like haze eventually. And it was like a huge statistical anomaly of an uptick in air traffic. And this air traffic happened to be on the edge of the storm. And they happened to be leaving, all of them leaving lines out of the back. And then when the storm came, it didn't drop a drop of rain. And come to find out, if you spray aluminum, you can dissipate the clouds and make the water droplets spread out. And the opposite of that is cloud seeding, where the clouds, where they get heavy and come together and fall because you've seeded it with, you can do different things, silver or even carbon dioxide. Dry ice is what the Air Force uses, which is frozen carbon dioxide. They dump it in the atmosphere and then say that it's bad for us that we're doing it, which is not even. The number one greenhouse gas, nobody knows, the number one greenhouse gas on Earth by far is water vapor. So like all this talk of like greenhouse gases, we got to be on the same page of what that even means. So the storm goes over, that's supposed to drop rain for a week, and it doesn't drop any rain. Like the trees are ready for it. There's literal salamanders and amphibious creatures coming out from under my house. It's supposed to be a really moist area. We didn't get the rain. The whole ecosystem wanted it. We didn't get it. And that memory kind of was just in my head. So about a month later, I'm talking to my boy back home, Lorenzo, and I'm like, dude, these kids don't know anything. And I swear I know everything. And I'm like, I'm trying to talk to these kids in my university about 9/11, right? And they're all young, and they're like, oh, I've heard both sides of the story and whatever, you're just a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, nah, man, you guys got to know this. They blew up your buildings. Like, this is crazy. It's our government's out to get us. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're just a nut job. And my homie was like, yeah, well, they're young, but chemtrails are in their face. How can they deny that? And I was like, what's that? Had no reference point. And this is the power of planting the seed, because now I'm the chemtrail dude. And he goes, Matt, you don't know about chemtrails? He's like, you're the one that got me on the truth path, bro. You told me about the movie Zeitgeist, and we watched Loose Change together, right? A year after 9/11 or whatever. Dylan Avery's first version. Thank you for that. And I'm like, what? He just says, go look it up, bro. And I'll talk to you later. So I go home, look up the word chemtrails. Boom, my mind is just like blown, because I seen it. I was there. I witnessed something, but I had no reference point at all. I had no seed planted, zero. So then I started going like really digging, and I started like showing people, and nobody knew about it, and I was blown away. But then I got to a point where I found out that there was actually activists out there, but they weren't real. They were fake ass ones, but I didn't know at the time. And so I was like, oh, okay. So then I let it go for a couple years, bro. I almost let it go for my whole life. And then I would be some miserable schmuck in the world, and I wouldn't be me right now, because I'm happy with what I'm doing, bringing the truth and whatever. And I have my movie and the sequel and the websites and the EMF protective clothing, all this stuff. Like, I was a waiter. I was a finance analyst. Like, I had all the jobs I've ever had. I'm very happy with just giving it all to basically God and trusting in it landing heads up. You know what I'm saying? But so that's how I woke up, man. And then once I finally dug into those movies and found the activists, I got super enraged, because I thought that they might be shills or something. Because I grew up with all my friends went to government jobs. There's no convincing them of anything. And if you show them some movie and in the middle of it, they're like, look at this bush. This bush is dead because of you, your chemtrails. It's just, they have this, it's easy. The word conspiracy theory was created by the government and propagandized by them and all this stuff, Operation Mockingbird and JFK assassination, all this stuff. So it's like, people are very easily dismissive. Mm-hmm. It's actually, one of my buddies used to call it the turd in the punch bowl. Mm-hmm. You can have the best party. You heard this phrase? You can have the best party ever. People lining up, DJs, everybody's having fun. The punch is great. There's a turd in there. They're just going to talk about that next year. Nobody's going to remember anything else. You know what I mean? And it's not going to get through to them that the truth, it's the metaphor for the truth or whatever. So either way, I hate to talk too much, and thank you for it.
No, dude. I appreciate it. No, thank you for sharing so much. I totally get that. Like I get the dismissal too. I have a lot of friends even now who are like that. Yeah, whatever. I'm even like that sometimes. I'm skeptical. Like my friend was telling me about Wim Hof breathing, and I'm like, oh yeah, am I gonna like connect to my Pleiadian ancestors and have a DMT trip? Blah blah blah. And then I did it, and I was like, that's fucking amazing. I actually really really enjoyed it. So I think for our generation and even beyond too, it's hard to take anything seriously when you grew up on mac and cheese and fucking ketchup. You know what I mean? Like that, there's nothing real even in, society as we come up. And so as you're going into this farm and you're seeing this ecosystem that's like, we want the rain, it's coming out. And then you see these things go over and you're like, what the? And so that's what really kind of got you. So it's funny that you mentioned 9/11 too, because that's something that I've been talking to a friend of mine about. And I hesitate because I don't want to call her a normie, because that's not true, even though I don't think she would be offended if I called her a normie. But it's not true, because she's got an open mind. She's a smart person, super cool person. And she's willing to entertain things at the very least. So that's not normie. It's not normie to do that. Normie is dismiss macaroni and cheese diet like that. There's no such thing that's real. There's no. And so we were kind of talking about that. And so that for me was very pivotal in my, I guess, process. But it sounds like too, for you, it was them spraying stuff in the skies. And now when I was a kid, I remember in the 90s, my mom was like, look, that's a chemtrail or whatever. She was pointed out on the beach. And I was like, Mom, you're crazy, Mom. There's no such thing, yada, yada, yada. Well, it turns out she definitely she definitely was ahead of her time there. And, she's only crazy now for this podcast. It's her favorite show. So, it's weird to have kind of come through all of these awarenesses, and that one being one of the ones that was like kind of an early seed. I guess that's punny, in reference to the whole thing, an early seed of like, there's something else going on. But really for me, it was 9/11. But I would love to talk more. Like, so you saw this event, these crisscross zigzagging planes stopping a storm. And then at that point, how did you get more into this? Because this seems to be sort of the meat of your work. Am I correct about that?
Well, I saw it and it was just a memory. And then it took all those other things to really get it going. And it was the meat of my work, but now it's gotten really deep into EMF radiation. Before all of this, so you said the word normie, it kind of got my brain spinning. Our generation normie is like, either 9/11 is questionable or you don't. I mean, this generation's normie is 99.9% survival rate or completely freaked out. And it's like, you got to have a balance. And if you're not questioning it at all, I feel like this is the next generation's that, but even more intense. It's insane. And it's the whole world. So to answer your question, is an activist wears many hats. And what I learned at first was, don't listen to nobody, because this one person who was trying to be my, show me the way kind of activist mentor. Yeah. I ended up realizing that they were probably feds and you guys, nobody really gets it. Okay, check this out. The CIA wasn't born yesterday.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, they were worried about the Black Panthers, yes. And so they infiltrated and controlled. But afterwards, they were like, like the Weather Underground or whatever, everything, dude. Afterwards, they're like, let's just be the opposition. We can let other people in,
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a Vladimir Lenin quote. It's like, the easiest way to control the opposition is to become it. Yeah.
So someone told me at one point that, they were trying to be my mentor or what have you, and you got to evolve beyond you got to be your own mentor, as I also learned. But that takes a little confidence and strength and respecting yourself, and that takes time sometimes. Mm-hmm. They said, stick to one subject. You got to be a specialist in one subject. No one's going to listen to you otherwise. And so, yeah, that was cool for a minute. You know, I made Frankenskies and whatever, but guess what? There's a frequency of truth. And as we ride and elevate to that vibration of truth, there's all these other truths that are right there. What am I going to freaking ignore them? So that's why I made Actual Activist. That's why I said, screw that idea. And that's how I started going. Thankfully, before all this nonsense happened, I started going around California and going to city hall meetings about 5G as 5G towers rolled out. And I was introduced in the Bay Area as the top 5G activist on earth, you know, to the media by some other group of activists. I'm not saying that's true, but I was really doing it, and it was amazing. And I witnessed some incredible stuff. I mean, in Marin, for instance, the Marin County Board of Supervisors on the 5G rollout, we had doctors and attorneys and like the cream of the crop of society of, you know, the United States, as far as I'm concerned. You know, these are very educated people from Stanford and all this stuff, Harvard and all that. And they're lining up saying, this is harmful. Please don't put this in my neighborhood. Please put in some regulations and rules. This woman, she dropped to the ground, bawling her eyes out because the cell tower near her house had caused her so many miscarriages and all this. And she was like, look, you're going to increase it. You can't do this. And she's on the ground crying, you know. Now, you're lucky if you can get in a city hall Zoom meeting and type some BS on the freaking side of the screen. That is nonsense. The activism has been completely quelled, and like the rug is being swept out from under us. And we're all like, oh, do I get a paycheck? It's like, no, we're getting completely duped, you guys. But so the activist wears many hats is where I am going with this. And so we end up with this all-encompassing frequency. And, you know, I do these daily truths on my Actual Activist site, and it's a daily little drop, and it ends up being health. It like truth and activism really comes full circle back to your body and your health and understanding who you are, what you are. And when they're over there trying to shove GMO down your throat and make it all confusing, do they muddy the waters? Whatever that quote exactly is, they muddy the waters to make it confusion, to make it seem deep. Right? They muddy the waters to make it seem deep. GMO is very simple. They make it sound so confusing. Genetically modified organisms. Go in the hood and ask someone what they know about that. They don't even understand it. All that it means is it's been tweaked a little bit with genetics so that it's immune to getting sprayed with poison. That poison would otherwise make that plant shrivel up and die. It's toxic. And it's also toxic to consume, but this is your food we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So they spray the crap out of it with whatever it is, an herbicide like atrazine or an insecticide or something, glyphosate or something, and this stuff, the residue's on there, and it's an endocrine disruptor, it causes cancer. It causes cancer in the court of law, glyphosate, but still it's okay? You know what I'm saying? So it's about this, it's all holistic. It's all holistic, and you start learning about EMF, bro. The EMF world of learning. Like if you go on my page and click 5G, there's some stuff, you even just right there, it's like, holy cow. The Navy did like 3,000 studies in 1970s on EMF. They concluded it was super harmful. And now they're bringing it to levels of radiation that are likely going to create some doomsday scenario where the next generation cannot procreate. I'm pretty confident, and it's really whack. But that's why I'm creating hope and trying to be the hope with Sparrow, which is Latin word, S-P-E-R-O, for hope. That's why I named my clothing line that, and I line clothing with silver, and I got these hoodies and this beanie I'm wearing, and I mean, I'm dialed in with a wired. Otherwise, I'd be wearing my hoodie and stuff like that. I don't play around with EMF anymore because when I was working on my movie. Okay, so here's another path, and then I'll pass the mic to you. I was working on my movie night and day and sleeping in the same room in Vancouver, Canada, just outside of there, actually. Like, I love BC, Canada, British Columbia. I'm glad I got to spend some time now. I mean, now we can't go there anymore. It's crazy, legally. Right. Like, I guess that whole like jumping the border of Canada is probably becoming something now. So, I lived right next to a smart meter. It was only but 2 or 3 feet from my head as I worked on my computer and slept, 3 feet or something. And after a few months, I was like telling my friends, I think I might be under some sort of attack. I didn't know. And they're like, you're crazy. And I was like, no, when I try to sleep, there's this wee-oh, and it's like my brain's all, I don't even know what's going on. I feel like electrical, and people are like, you're crazy. So I talked to my landlord, who ended up being my girlfriend later on, and she was like, oh, haha, it could be that smart meter. And I'd heard the word, right? And it's just like, you never go diving down these rabbit holes until they're literally zapping your brain and like in your face. You know what I'm saying? So I started doing research. And as I'm doing research, like on my smartphone, I'm getting like totally electrically sensitive and my fingers are tingling. I actually ended up getting kind of like zapped and stuff. And I diagnosed myself with electrical hypersensitivity for a while. I got past it. I was getting crazy heart palpitations. I get a heart palpitation going into a coffee shop and stuff, but I've lessened and mitigated my EMF radiation, and it's all good. But learning about that and then seeing this progression of what the heck they're probably going to instill on these children, radiation-wise, is what led me to coming out with that clothing and what have you. So it's just like the activist has so many hats, bro. And like the health thing, I could talk for days. I mean, I said I passed the mic really quick. Sugar, for instance, if we ingest sugar, we have to know what it does to our body. It depletes our magnesium. It depletes 54 times the magnesium than the sugar that we ingested. So for 1 gram of sugar or 1 molecule of sugar, it takes 54 molecules of magnesium to process that 1 molecule of sugar. So we ended up being deficient on magnesium, which we need for our bones and what have you. And if we're deficient, we're absorbing toxins from the environment, whatever. And all we got to do is like get a magnesium bath or eat some leafy greens, because the central atom in the chlorophyll molecule is magnesium. Chlorophyll is the green stuff. There's so much to like know, but all these truths are hidden because they're so easy. Alkaline diet, all that sort of stuff. All these things are simple, and that's why they hide them, because otherwise we'd totally be able to kill it in life, you know? That's all.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah. And don't worry. No, I'm here. I want to hear from you. Like, that's why, that's why we're talking. So I love it. I love what you're talking about. I think it's great. And I love this. I love that there's simplicity. Like, amidst all this, I have a friend right now who's been working a lot, and, this whole thing that we're dealing with right now is rather complicated. It's like you say, you muddy the water so you can't tell it's deep. Or so you think it's deep, and it may not necessarily be, but because you can't see the bottom. But I love the idea of simple solutions. Like, I love the idea that, the universe is abundant, and that we're tricked into lack, and so just understanding that, I'd love to think about that a little bit too, as far as, where are some great, I think the tips that you just said are awesome. Like, I know sugar's bad for me. I just drank a sweet tea, but I also ate some leafy greens. But I'm here to learn any small things that can help. And obviously Rome wasn't built in a day, so maybe I do half and half tea tomorrow. But
hey, I'm not coming on a man show from Georgia and shit talking some sweet tea, brother. I would not even go there ever. But I do want to talk about Dr. Sebi for people that don't know, Sebi.
Okay.
This dude was so legit. So Dr. Sebi was this very tall Honduran, black Honduran man, and he ended up getting jailed and killed in jail. And it was because he was dropping such easy truth. And then Nipsey Hussle, rapper, he was doing a documentary about this. And I'm pretty sure he got killed because of the documentary. The documentary never came out, and even like any of the documentary never came out. It just got swept under the rug. And they always want to disempower and experiment on the African American community. Sorry, that sucks. And it's a shame, but it's because the strength and power there. Dick Gregory knew it. Prince knew it. Rest in peace, both of them. But if like any of us came together in unity, especially some powerful, demographics, then it'd be in game for the people in control, because all of their cards are built on us thinking that we're powerless. Their house of cards. So Dr. Sebi, I learned about fasting. You would never believe just not eating for a day and how clear and amazing your body is. It's like they want you to think that's what poor people do. Poor people munch and whatever. I don't even get it. It puts your body in this ketosis. You all of a sudden get super clear. It seems like it'd be unreal, but try it. Try not eating for 24 hours and see how amazing and clear you are. It's something else. So Dr. Sebi, Sebi, he was just giving people alkaline diet. So there's pH, and your body wants to be just above a 7 pH, like 7.4 or something like that. And everyone who's suffering from cancer and candida and all these things, they have a pH that's acidic, that's below that 7 range. And you don't realize this, but lemon water or limes or even baking soda, it can alkalize your body. And literally there was this doctor that was treating tumors, Falcone, in Italy with just baking soda because it's so alkalizing, that it was curing people of cancer, just baking soda. So Dr. Sevi was curing people of full-blown AIDS and cancer and everything with just alkaline diet. These are his brothers, African-American brothers, and he was going all over the country in the United States, giving these speeches talking about alkaline diet and how that literally these people could just cure themselves with fasting and then eating alkalizing their diet, their bodies. Irish sea moss is this amazing, like nutrient dense, crazy superfood that doesn't break your body out of ketosis, that you can help keep the fasting going. I mean, trust me, after 24 hours, you want to keep going and see what you can do for a couple of days, or maybe 48 hours. It's something, it's really special. It doesn't seem like it would be, just like how you clown the breathing techniques, which I too did, and now it's pretty cool, but I try everything, whatever. So really quick, and then I'm done with the Sebi thing. His mama said, after he'd cured 12 people in a row, full-blown AIDS, his mama said, quote, "You know they're gonna get you." And he said, "Mama, I don't care." And then they did. They got him and killed him like pretty shortly thereafter. And there's like this quote, famous quote, and he didn't stop spreading the truth. But the truth is so contagious and so easy that they do their best to like quell it, and they do their own research saying that Coca-Cola is more healthy than water and what have you. Coca-Cola, dude, I try to find these things that I used to be able to find on the internet back when I was like going to school, whatever, just research. You know how when we were a kid, you put a penny in the Coca-Cola, it dissolves, it's science experiment, Can't even find that crap no more. I try to find these little things to show people, things that I know were there. And instead, it's the flip side. I find a Coca-Cola funded research study on humans where they drank water and they drank Coca-Cola, and they retained more Coca-Cola than water as they urinate. Therefore, Coca-Cola is more hydrating than water. Therefore, Coca-Cola is better for you than water. Science. Boom. It's like, for real, that's where it is. That's what Google and Bing, and we only got these 2 search engines. Like DuckDuckGo, like what else? It's just like, it's all controlled. It's unreal. So you got to understand your instincts, your cultivated gut intuition. Everybody's got some range of street smarts.
Mm-hmm.
You walk down the street, someone's got a freaking pistol in their hand, you cross the road.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
That's it. We can cultivate those gut instincts and gut intuitions and listen to our president and just ask our gut, do I believe this? What is this? And our heart and soul will tell us what's up as long as we ask. I've been cultivating it forever. I started doing it with the stock market. I was trading. I was doing mad stock market stuff on the East Coast, and then I moved to the West Coast. And I'd wake up at like 7 a.m. and the stock market's already open. I'd ask my gut, like, did I just lose my ass? Did I do okay? And I would always have a knot in my stomach every time that I lost my ass. And I was just like, wow, this is something. Like, I'm not looking at the computer. I mean, it's weird that I cultivated this over decades because I'm like a gambling fool, man. I used to bet on everything. I play poker. I'm like amazing at poker, but I don't do that anymore. I'm like learning to get away from these vices, even though I feel like so confident and what have you. It's like time and energy, where do you want to put it? Your energy is powerful, and your vibe attracts your tribe, and, energy goes where your attention energy flows where your attention goes. So it's important what you focus on and whatever. It's like our minds are kind of like projectors, and we don't realize the power of it all. But yeah, how about you? Like, your mom's awesome has she seen my movie? You should I would love to share my movie with her. That'd be great if I could send you guys some DVDs, a couple.
Dude, yeah, absolutely, man. I know she would love it, and she would just be excited the whole time. She's definitely a big fan of all kinds of, truth sort of stuff. And, she kind of got me into this whole world, really. And I got her, I've gotten her back a few times. One time, the worst thing she's ever done to me, I don't think I've ever shared this publicly. We both have pretty good sense of humor. And one day I came home from work. I was working on a farm, kind of like you, just dying, you know, like I'd worked like 12, 14 hours, whatever, come in the door. And she had ordered pizzas for us. And it was our favorite pizzeria called Mellow Mushroom Pizza. They have spring water dough. It's the best crust ever. Mm-hmm. So I come in and then I'm like, oh God, thank God, you know, I'm all muddy, I'm gross. And I just immediately make a beeline because I'm starving for the pizza. I open up the pizza box. As I'm walking over to it, she's dying laughing. I don't know what's going on. So I finally open up the pizza box. All the crust is missing on the pizza. So there's nothing to hold on to grab onto the pizza's hand. And anyway, that was the best she's ever got me. Other than like getting me into, the chemtrails and stuff from a very young age. But ever since then, I've sent her stuff. You know, we send things back and forth, and I know she would love your movie for sure. And, as far as intuition and stuff goes, I mean, that's something that I'm still really cultivating and trying to work super hard on. Like, I feel like I hear it I feel pretty confident most of the time, but I still feel like there are some other voices or something that I'm not quite, in tune. On the fasting note, that's something that I've definitely tried and had a lot of success with. Like after I'd say maybe 3-4 days, I've done up to 7 days. Wow. And it's cool because you can feel your stomach again. Like there's this time that comes for me when I'm fasting. And I'm like, I feel my stomach. Like I don't know how to necessarily explain that, but it's just like it's
in tune with your body.
I think probably so. I think probably a lot more in tune and just aware, just aware of the body and the sensations in it. I enjoy it as well. I really do. And I got into that actually a few years ago and doing the intermittent stuff, but I'd love to check out that moss though for the keto. You said Irish moss?
Whoa, yeah, the Irish sea moss. It's unreal. When I first was trying it, I would eat some after like intermittent fasting or whatever, and it's so mineral dense that your body is just like literally just like grinding away, like processing this dense. It's called Irish sea moss, and it's not moss. Well, it's sea moss. It's there's so many cool like kelp and seaweeds. It's a seaweed, but this one's so dense that your body's just like grinding away, processing this mineral dense food. And then when it's out of it, you've never been hungrier in your life. Like I'm crawling to like drink some water, to like my body has never been hungrier in its life, because it's hard to explain. It was processing such mineral dense stuff that once it was done, it wanted more. And it was just like, there was nothing. And it was just like, oh man, I was like sick. I was like, it was unreal. And just a little of the sea moss will get you back there, because it's back to processing that. But it's just super mineral dense, like the most mineral dense thing, like more than caviar or anything like that. It's unreal. Yeah, Sebi would totally recommend that. 7 days, you're a gangster. I've never done that, not even close. And that's pretty ruthless on the pizza crust. I mean, come on, hard day at work. Long, hard day at work. And now it's just, and like I'm still processing back in the back of my head, because like when you go to New York, they're all proud of their tap water and their pizza. They say mix the dough and all this. And spring water pizza crust, that's really awesome. And so she jacked you on that tip too. That's horrible. That's unreal. No, that's funny. And that's sweet. You guys have a nice rapport. And dude, even just little seeds, like that's a chemtrail. Back in the 90s, it wasn't that prevalent. I mean, the family photos, it really starts showing up in the mid 90s. For those of you that don't know Frankenskies, frankenskies.com, the movie can be found there. It'll take you to frankenskiesthemovie.com, but I was just recently able to buy frankenskies.com, thankfully, after years of trying to get it. And then it's a chronological timeline movie. It's actually one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. It's not me yapping away, being like, this is me, my voiceover. There's no voiceover. It's them putting their foot in their mouth with Air Force footage of them sharpening their tools and figuring out how to modify the weather, starting in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. By the time they modify the weather in the 60s, they've got it. They know how to do it. They know how to make it totally dump rain over the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Vietnam. The whole world is aware, and then they kind of just quiet it over decades and make it covert, and like they're continuing to do it. Those of us that don't know, it was like 1914. Professor Hatfield out of San Diego, he was hired by the city of San Diego. Can you make it rain? He's like, yeah, I could probably pull it off. He built a tower 35 feet, goes up there, and as these clouds go by, he sprayed this chemical mix to see if he could seed the clouds. It's not that hard. There's chemicals that attract the water droplets, so they go on to, it's seeding because there's like a little seed, whether it be a little flake of soot from like a forest fire or something, because smoke makes it help it rain, or just like a little, it doesn't even matter what the seed is. It can just be a piece of ice or whatever. So other water droplets start to couple together, gets heavy, it falls out. Silver iodide, it makes it rain, and they seed clouds over ski resorts. They seed clouds over hydro dams. But then when we talk about seeding clouds for drought, they're like, that's a conspiracy theory, right? You can, if you have the money, you can make it not rain on your wedding day. You can make it blue skies for like, it's like $250,000. But if you got the money, you can do whatever you want.
Wow.
So in 1915, yeah, Professor Hatfield in San Diego, he did. They questioned, can you make it rain? He did. He made it rain, and he busted the dams. He made it dump, and the dams filled up and burst, and he was sued by the city of San Diego, even though they had hired him for doing the job too good. So ever since then, it's been a fact we can make it rain. But you talk to anybody nowadays, just like the other information that's hidden from people, like how many varieties of oranges are there? It's like, what? Get an orange at the store. There's only oranges out there. What are you talking about? No, there's abundance. And in that abundance, there's all this information and knowledge, because we don't need the grocery store. We can all just grow this stuff together, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever.
I love that.
They try to keep it really hush hush, and keep us on lock, and keep us all on our phones and not looking at the sky. And now they're launching geoengineering, saying that global warming's gotten so bad that we need to dim the sun with chemtrails, and they're making it official now. Bill Gates wants to dim the sun and all this nonsense. I don't know if you know this, but they tried to pull this off in Tucson, Bill Gates and all this, dim the sun, a few years back. And I moved to Arizona and had this whole conference and a protest, a concert. We had this protest for Mother Earth on Mother's Day. It was all huge success. And the whole, state really, but it rippled out. The whole state ended up learning that there was this experiment to spray aluminum and some other crap in front of the sun over Tucson, and they didn't want it to go down. Not that they were admitting chemtrails were ever happening, but the whole public was not consenting to this experiment. So they put it on hiatus. Now it's going to Sweden. We can't even go to Sweden to protest it. They're not even letting Americans in right now because we're like a hot spot for whatever lies. But like, it's been an incredible journey, and the activists that like it. Okay, so just want to say this one note. Being an activist, sometimes, people like to say, oh, it's a hard journey, or, oh, they'll threaten your life or whatever. It's the best thing you could possibly do. It's such an amazing thing. And if you really give it your all, or try, or baby steps towards big goals and stuff, the universe has your back. God's got your back. Like, if you're promoting truth in any way, you're doing a really good service to humanity, and it's going to work out. Maybe not day one, but I really encourage people to try to step up and become actual activists. We need you. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to click like on Facebook and, oh, they've got it under control, they've got it under wraps. No, I'm trying to inspire people and not be like, oh, he's got it under control. Like, come on the front lines with me. We got to get these DVDs out there. We got to wake people up. The thing about chemtrails that I love so much, it's a great seed for the truth. People have been hitting me up for real, because the movie came out in 2017. So people have been coming to me recently, Matt, I just want to thank you. If I didn't know about chemtrails, I would not have seen all this as totally nonsense. I probably would have bought it, because how am I to know about lies? But when you can realize the lies in your sky, real eyes, real lies, real skies, you know what I'm saying? And like, if you don't really know the big picture, and you can't start to see it all. And there's fluoride in our water. Like, why would they do that to us? Well,
it's good for your teeth.
They do. Well, we can talk about that. Did you know that fluoride comes from aluminum production? When they melt aluminum, the fluoride comes running off as like a hazardous waste byproduct. And so when you get aluminum and fluoride in your body, the two of them go in your brain and they have a chemical reaction where they rebond. And it's like a little explosion. And that's what Alzheimer's and dementia is these two, it's a setup, you know, they want to get these two things in your body. So just empowering yourself with knowledge and getting the fluoride-free toothpaste, or maybe a filter so you don't have so much fluoride in your tap water if you're in a fluoride town, which a lot of people are. Avoiding aluminum in your deodorant and all that jazz. You know, it's, you know, you can empower yourself with these really simple things.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love the simple stuff, and I totally resonate with your statement. Go out there and do your thing. If that's active for me, I started out thinking that I was going to be an activist, and I guess I am in some form. You know, I stand up for truth. You know, and I have a big you know, vision and a caring, I guess, disposition for humanity. So there's that. But like what happened ultimately was like I did the next thing that I was kind of led to do. I made an audio book, and then I started making some videos, and I started talking about spirituality, and ultimately found my niche by trying, you know. And I started out as an activist because I knew all these other activists that I looked up to, you know, and I did my podcast back then, and I, you know, but it just wasn't the right thing yet. But all the skills that I learned from doing all that have culminated into, you know, skills that I can use now. And so I couldn't agree with you more. Like the universe has your back. You got to take that step out there. And I hope more people will. One of the limiting beliefs, I think, is, well, so-and-so is already doing that. Like, fuck that. It doesn't matter. Like there can't be enough people talking about what you're passionate about. If you're passionate about it, then you need to be following that passion, because that passion leads to curiosity. That curiosity will lead to your purpose, and then you'll be able to get up and start doing some amazing things. And then ultimately, look, what you've been able to do, bringing this movie together, which is really cool. I love the way that it's put together in like linear time. You've got each sort of like project, like and the dates that, you know, that they went to, and all that. It builds up so well. It's really well put together. And then now you're doing what, like an EMF clothing. How cool is that? You didn't see that from the beginning, I'm sure, right? So it's really cool how it's really cool to see that development, and how the universe is, you know, kind of helping you along. It's awesome.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. I was out passing out flyers in a city somewhere. I mean, it was probably like flyer number 10,000. And sometimes I just like get fed up and I just try to read people, and I'm like, okay, are they cool? Are they going to be nice? You know, I want to give it to only cool people, because I'm not trying to just give them the flyer and get thrown away and get insulted. Because I started envisioning the flyers like they're $100 worth $100. You know, it's like I want them to take it home and like watch the movie or be aware, or whatever it was, promoting the conference or whatever different chemtrail stuff I was doing. You know, and I at one point putting up flyers at a coffee shop, flyers, chemtrails. And I said like out loud, like kind of to the God, universe, or to God or whatever, I go, am I just going to be passing out chemtrail flyers forever? Like, is this my life? And I was like, I highly doubt it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, but I'll just keep plugging along. And then it evolved. And it's like become so much more. I mean, just the fact that I made these foam bags. Okay, so I make these foam bags. This is actually really important, really quick. So I make these foam bags.
Sure.
And they're silver. And you put your phone in there, and you don't get any self-service. It's basically like turning your phone off, but you can still get tracked if your phone is off. So it's like no tracking, no eavesdropping, no track and trace with all this, whatever they're trying to do, whatever, no EMF radiation. And then the bags kind of showcase the silver, because we use the silver for the other clothing. We use the silver for the other clothing and whatnot too, so that we show how protective the silver can be. Silver is like the main fabric that you use. It's the best to protect from EMF. EMF is just light. It's light that we can't see. It's light that we absorb in our bodies, and it can build up and cause problems or whatever, disrupt our sleep patterns, all these different things. And it's important as 5G comes out to like lessen our absorption, how much we're impacted by whatever. So that's why I started coming out with this and what have you. But guess what? I never knew it was going to evolve so amazing like this. So I had these foam bags, And they were one layer of this silver fabric. Okay, you can see the silver fabric. And I'm selling these for a couple years. I went on Coast to Coast a couple times. Okay, I've been on Coast to Coast 3 times, and it's always huge. You know, it's like a few million people listening to you live.
I love that show. I grew up listening to that show. You know,
yeah, it's so many people, and it's everywhere, and it's great, and I love it. And it's such a rush because, like, I mean, like when I had the Tucson conference to try to bring awareness to the Bill Gates sky dimming experiment, the conference hall was packed, and I had just told everyone about it on Coast to Coast, and I was like, "Who here's from Arizona?" And nobody would raise their hands. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "Dang!" It was all that Coast to Coast show. Everybody came from the Coast to Coast show. Like, it's great influence. So I went on Coast to Coast. I went on a bunch of shows. I've been working my ass off. I sold a lot of foam pouches all over the world, okay, for a couple years even. And also the company that I get them from, they've been selling a lot of them all over the world too, to other companies that sell them in Sweden and Japan and everywhere, okay? Thousands of foam pouches sold, one layer of silver fabric. So in March of last year, right when all of this stuff started happening, see, I'm getting really good with my keywords. All of this stuff started happening with the nonsense, and my phone bags stopped working, bro. So people are having what I call radiation sickness symptoms, loss of taste, brain fog, all these things that, like, literally you look it up and it's low level radiation sickness symptoms. And my phone bags are being penetrated and 5G is getting rolled out. So I was like, what's going on? People are flipping out. They want a refund, whatever. Some people are like, I've had your bag for 2 years. I love it. My phone does not work in the bag. Just the other day, it started just ringing through the bag. And I'm like, shoot, I'm screwed, right? So I'm like contacting these people. People are really upset. People are calling me a fraud and all this. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I swear they work. So I ended up attributing it to the 5G rollout. Like, even iPhone 8s are propagating this new bandwidth, this new carrier wave, and it's super strong, way more stronger than before. Okay. And I'm also thinking that it's a huge potential for all of these symptoms that people are witnessing, and they're saying that they're actually getting something that they don't even know what they're talking about. Okay. So I made the bags double layered. Ta-da, here they are. They've got a little white logo on them, and the white logo are the ones that are double layered. Put your phone in the bag and the phone doesn't work. So I had to double the strength of the protection, but now they're totally clutch. But did I see all that happening? And now I've lived to tell the tale. And the story is super freaking important because I've read Arthur Furstenberg's book, The Invisible Rainbow, and I think it's a nice kind of reference point for a lot of this. But increases in the electrical grid, they impact the humans, the people. And a lot of people are already sensitive, and we show symptoms. And if our phone is in our freaking pockets all the time, we basically would show symptoms of the increase of radiation, but we would adjust, because that's what we do. We adjust and we get used to it, and then we get over it. So we would have like loss of taste or whatever for a couple of weeks, and then we would get over it. So it all kind of makes sense. And I ain't dumb, you know, it's like there's correlations and there's causal relations, and I know about statistics. And when I'm talking to my buddy back home in DC, and he's trying to clown me because he says he got it and that he thinks it is real, right? And I'm like, well, I don't know if it is real, and let me hear your real story and tell me what phone you have. And he's telling me he got loss of taste right when he got the new iPhone, that he had the Android before. And he's like, well, it was weird that I got loss of taste because that's not a symptom of any other, normal yada. And I'm just like, dude, come on, get with the program. It starts to make sense, you know, and it seems like there was just a big smoke screen to roll out 5G, because 5G is no joke. Like, when we're dealing with carrier waves that are this small, they absorb into us and they can seriously impact developing fetuses. And it could very easily be this Handmaid's Tale, Children of Men, weird dystopia that we enter into slowly. I hate to say it, but awareness is key. You know, we're not victims in this. Awareness is power. You know, knowledge is power.
Yep.
And, you know, maybe if we really embrace truth enough, we'll just elevate our vibration and like leave this behind. I think there's definitely a spiritual destiny. I can't tell what it is or what's going on, but they're definitely afraid of something. They're really worried about our spiritual progression, it seems. And
Yeah,
so
I think so.
I think we should embrace it as much as we can.
Agreed. Yeah, I think we're right on the precipice of something myself, and like the Law of One book, talking about like the density consciousnesses and stuff and like positive or negative. I kind of see us as potentially like teetering on that line going into this next, whatever's next. I don't know. I'm just some dude, you know what I'm saying? But like something. And then how that's going to be charged, service to self, service to others, people like yourself have been a great example going ahead and being brave and walking into that stuff, even though you didn't know what was going to happen. But I'm glad to see that you've been supported and had those opportunities and been able to connect with so many people. And that's what's really important to me right now is just community, people who are open and caring and loving and understand what human sovereignty is. I swear to God, from there, I don't care what you believe. Like, as long as, like it's all on the table at that point. But and I know there's a lot of people out there who understand that principle. It's like, it's not written down on a piece of paper. It's not given by anybody. It's something that is natural, inherent as existence. We have the right to exist. But yeah, I'm looking at a sparrow right now on your website, man. It looks awesome. I'll definitely put that in the show notes as well. I think that's really, really cool. I have one of those my mom gave me. It's not a sparrow one, but I don't think it works either because I have an iPhone 8. And when I had it in there and it was supposed to be, this thing, it zips up. It's like sort of like got a, what do you call it? Velcro thing. And I would open it up and I would have, new messages and stuff like that. I didn't test to see if it would ring in there or not, but super valuable tool too, because yeah, like you said, if your phone's off, you can be tracked. So it's a whole thing, but yeah, man, I really appreciate you taking the time today, Matt. You've been great.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. And like somewhere earlier, you're like, I guess I'm an activist. Bro, you're reaching people, you're doing it, you're inspiring, you're laughing. And I mean, like what you said earlier about the 3 stages video, that is like nailing it on the head. That's right where we're at right now. And maybe you can laugh about it all the way. Maybe someone can actually hit you in the face. I don't know, but it's like, thank you for what you do and everything. And I appreciate it. Do you have an Instagram? I think you do, right?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Yep, I sure do. I'll make sure that we connect over there, and I'll make sure all the links that we've discussed today are in the show notes. Actual Activists, the Frankenskies documentary, as well as Spiro clothing line. I got all that stuff linked up, and I'll make sure that everybody needs to go check that stuff out. Is there anything else that you want to leave folks with, or anything else you want to share before we get out of here?
Just lastly, and yeah, my Instagram is Sparrow Gear, and Sparrow Gear will get you to the website too. It'll just forward you over to Sparrow Protection Clothing.
Cool.
Every single person out there can do more. And it's not a guilt trip at all, right? I'm not guilting anybody. I'm just talking about the value you have, bro. You could be sitting right next to the next Malcolm X, and all they needed you to do is whisper in their ear, hey, have you seen this podcast? Or you are that next Malcolm X, or whoever the heck you look up to. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't take much to light that fire under someone's ass. It just takes that match to be struck, bro. Like we're not lost, we're not doomed, we're not hopeless, we're not helpless. It's all good, and we're going to rise above this. And the more that the darkness shows itself, the more that all of us are realizing that we are the light, and we are super powerful, and they just don't want us to know. So never underestimate your power. And I mean, if you can knit for the truth, what's your skill set? Are you funny? Are you happy? Are you a good leader? Like if you are an entrepreneur, I know there's grocery stores that want to open up in all sorts of communities right now that are just face-free, freedom grocery stores. There's all sorts of communities that need that. And if you're willing to really trust and honor the truth, find that town and kill it, because we need you. I mean, like, don't just sit on your money, man. Like, we need you out there doing your thing. If you're a singer, sing. I mean, like, have you heard of Homage? He's a Homage, Homage. He's a great truth rapper or hip hop artist. And eventually, what I want to do, if I can really kill it and have some money, which I've never had real money before, but I want to do a truth tour. It'll be speakers, it'll be music and art, and it'll focus on probably like 6 categories, you know, like GMO, chemtrails, etc. And we'll go tour the country and wake people up like with a day long event, just like boom, 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 boom. But it'll be like people will leave there like completely mind blown, and they'll have fun. It'll be great music, you know. There's so many talented artists out there that that we could all come together so much on a cool music kind of creative tour called the Truth Tour.
I love that. I want to hear all of that kind of music because I'm a huge fan of music.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So do what you can with what you have, where you're at, please, and don't give in to any of this nonsense. And thank you so much, bro. And I appreciate you. And do please, if anybody wants to be in touch, frankenskies@gmail.com. And please, Bootsy, send me your address. I'm happy to please send you at least a phone pouch and a couple of DVDs. That's the least I can do.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. My mom's going to flip. She's going to love it. So I'll tell her to listen to this episode too. Right, she listens to everyone. I know she does. All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so very much. Have a great day. Loves all there is.